Knowing how to generate QR codes can prove really useful in React or Next.js. In this case, it doesn't really matter because we're gonna take a look at two client-side approaches that you can do either in Next.js or React. It really doesn't matter. And then one server-side approach that we are gonna do in Next.js. Now, why would you want a QR code generated? Well, you can link user profiles, you can link websites, you can do a lot of stuff with QR codes and integrate them really easily into your project. So I say we dive right in and take a look at how to integrate QR codes in React and Next.js. So here we are inside of a Next.js project, and let's look at what this looks like in the browser. So let me go to Firefox and then go to, no, we don't care about the updates. We are going to localhost 3000. And as you can see, it's probably the ugliest application you've ever seen. But the point is, we have an input field up here on the left, and then a little generate button right next to it. We can type in here, and that value that we type in there is being kept right here as state as the username. So this is a controlled input field with a value of the state, and then whenever we change the input field, we're keeping the whatever we type in there as state. So pretty simple. Now, how do we go about creating a QR code? And in this video, I want to show you three approaches of doing that. Two will be client-side based and one will be server-side. So let's go through the first one. And the first one actually involves an npm package, npm QR code. Let me show you the package it involves. And the other two won't include any npm package. So if you don't want to add any other dependency to your project, fair enough. I feel that. The first one is going to be an npm package though. So we can say QR code, and it says it also works server-side, but server-side we're going to do something different. I just want to show you the package. So let's install that. Let's say npm install QR code, and that's pretty much all we need to do. That's going to install the package. It's going to be really fast. Now, what I also had to do, if you're working in TypeScript, I've already done that. As you can see in my package.json, you will probably get an error because you might need to install it at type/QR code so it works properly in TypeScript. If you're following along JavaScript, no worries at all. And then when we press this generate button right here, we want the QR code to show up on the page. How do we go about that? Well, on the button, we can say it's a type of button, and what should happen, the on-click event. So let's say on-click, and that is going to call a function called generate. And let me make the code a bit larger for you so you can see better. And that generate function is going to be defined up here. So that's going to get called whenever we press the button. Let me disable GitHub Copilot for a second. And because we installed a package called QR code, we can say import QR code from QR code. So we are importing the default export of QR code. We're not destructuring anything. And now we can say QR code dot, and then we have a bunch of methods we can use. We can say to file stream, to string, to canvas. In our case, we want the to data URL. And in here you put the link that the QR code should lead to. In our case, we want, let's just say, a GitHub link. So https://github.com/ and then user name. Now for those to work, we need the template strings and not the regular strings. So we get the QR code to data URL, this string right here, whenever we press the button. And then we can say .then, and as you can see, I've prepared a state up here called source. And this state is just going to contain the source of our image. And then we can say either we get the value and then set source to value. So that works just fine. But because the first parameter is automatically being passed, we can also just say set source. And that's going to work just fine as well. So it's going to set the source to essentially the result of the .then, which is the string, the QR code string. So it's exactly what we want already. So we can just leave it like that. And now we want the QR code to also show up on the page, right? We are keeping the state in here. We're setting the source. And to make the QR code show up on the page, we can say an image with the source of the state we have up here. Let's save the page. The server should be started for that, of course. And then navigate. We can close the npm page, navigate to the a main page. And now when we say, for example, let's type in my username, click generate, and as you can see, the QR code pops up here. And I mean, I have no way to check if it's correct right now, but you can scan it. And if you do scan it, then the condition is that you have to follow my GitHub. No, I'm just kidding. And that is the first approach I want to show you. So we have the QR code. That's very cool. Now let's take a look at how to do this whole thing server side. So if you are creating an image server side, just like I am here, and don't worry, this might look really complicated at first. This is a lot of stuff that has nothing to do with the original image. I'm going to talk you through exactly what we're doing. So we're not going to use the dependency. Instead, like, don't worry about all this stuff. Essentially, from the API route, the important thing that we are doing is returning an image. And this image, don't worry about this, just has a couple of class names. But what is important is the source. So the source is HTTPS, I think it's called : and then /api.qr-server.com/v1/create-qr-code. And don't worry, you don't have to type this. I'm going to put it in the description. Then we define the size right here. And then we can also pass the data, so where we want the QR code to go. And because this is synchronous, there's no async action involved, we can actually have this direct link as the source for the image, which we can then return back to the client. Now to take a look at how this looks on the client, we can say const image URL is equal to, and then have a string HTTP /localhost 3000, because this is the route we are hosting this API route on. So this is API/OG 3000s, and then we can say /API/OG, and then we can pass whatever we want, pretty much as the like in the query parameters. It doesn't really matter. What we care about is this answer right here. So we can just leave it like that, or actually we can pass something. So we want the username to be right here, so we should pass the username in here. So we can say $username is equal to, and let's just say my GitHub right here, but you can put yours, and I advise you to put yours. And now when we save that and go to here, we can say the source is no longer the state, but now it's the image URL. Remember, it's synchronous, so we can actually do it like this. Save that, then reload the page, and as you can see, we get an image. Now this image is, you don't need to care about it. This is just for an upcoming project that I've prepared. What is important is the QR code right here. So we get the QR code from the back end, so we generate it server side pretty much, and then pass it back to the client. Now in this particular case, it's not like, there's no point generating the image server side. So what we can actually do is just copy this image right here, and then we can say something like in the generate function, we're gonna say const URL is equal to this, which needs to be in a template string. Now we got the URL, so whenever we press the button, this URL constant is gonna get assigned. And then we can say set source to the URL, and we can comment this out and put the source back in here. So we're essentially doing the same thing that we did server side. We got the same link to the api.qrserver.com, but this time we are getting it on request on client side, then setting that as state. Then the image source is going to be the state, and the outcome is going to be exactly the same. So we can type a GitHub username in here, click generate, and now you can see the image pops up on the top, just like we want. So as I said, in this case, it doesn't really make sense doing the server side, but you definitely can. Like there is the option if you want to. And yeah, that's pretty much all we need to do. Now remember, because this is synchronous, we can do this. There's no async action involved. And when I first started messing with this like QR code generator, I always try to do a fetch request to this URL, which doesn't make sense. You know, you can literally just assign the constant to the string that you want the QR code to be, and that is all you need to do. So it's way easier than having to do a whole fetch request, you know, with the browser API or with Axios or whatever. No need to do that. Literally just type the string out, set the source, and that's all you need to do. So I think approach 3, this one right here, is the easiest approach if you don't want an npm package, but you do rely on a link to work, which could be, not ideal for really important projects. And if you can bear another npm dependency, then I would recommend the first approach with the QR code dependency we imported up here. Okay, that's all I wanted to show you. I wish you a lot of fun with your custom QR codes. I really hope to see some cool stuff from you, and then I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching, have a good one, and bye bye.